Hello there, greetings everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So it's Sunday. We're doing the first episode of the week, which is called This Week. For those of you who are new and have not seen this before, basically I talk about what I'm going to present on the various shows this week coming for the channel. Then I will sometimes go into the future, talk about a few things that are up and coming. I haven't had much up and coming lately. I've been too busy. However, I think that might change very soon. The other thing is, if there's anything in the past that needed rectifying because I screwed something up or maybe I forgot something or whatever, I usually address it on this show as well. So the only thing from the past is this week I had planned to do the second part of the Hawkwind exploring the Progverse episode. However, I just had too much to do. I couldn't get to finish it. I've done most of it, but there's still a bit more to do. So it will come out this week. So I do apologize for those who are looking for it last night and didn't see it. It will come out this week. This episode also will be a little bit late. I think it's about 12. Well, it's not quite 12 yet, but I haven't had a chance to prepare this episode. I've just come in from doing a few things, so I will be doing this now, and it'll come up as soon as I'm able to put it up. So, without further ado, we're going to start talking a bit about what's happening this week. So, having done this episode of this week, the next episode out will be a new series that I've put together with Ben, which will start tonight, actually, replacing Ben's Albums Challenge, which we've had now for more than a year and a half. I think it's gotten a little bit stale. It has for Ben and has for me a bit too. So with it out of the way, we're going to start a new show. And this, I was thinking about how I wanted to title it, and I still may change it, but this is going to be basically titled Two Musical Things which have commonalities. So it could be two guitarists, it could be two albums from the same band, it could be two similar albums from two separate bands, it could be two keyboardists, it could be two rock albums that came out the same year, it could be anything, but they have to have some kind of commonality. They can't be something like, an album that came out in '73 that was hard rock and a punk rock album in the late 1990s that have nothing related. There has to be some commonality here. So the series at this point is going to be called "The Musical Things with Two Musical Things with Some Commonality." And this week, Ben has given me, for the first episode, he gave me these two albums: Queen, Day at the Races, and Night at the Opera. Two albums, of course, have the most obvious commonality is that they take on those Marx Brothers film titles, both of them. Very similar albums. One's black, one's white. It's funny how the Night one is white and the Day one is black. I think that was probably intentional. Anyways, we'll be talking about those two albums tonight on the new series. The next show that usually comes out on Monday. It's called A Look Back at a Classic Rock Album. So I'm going to feature this album, which has been in my playlist for some time. The Seventh House. I think it's been about 5 months, maybe even coming close to 6 months now. It's been on that playlist. Very good album. Was an album that was in my top 5 till recently. And it could go back in there. It's still struggling to hold its own. Anyways, it has not any threat to be removed from my playlist anytime soon. But however, we're going to do it today. I usually like to, when something is newer to me, but it might be an old album, in the case like this one, I tend to like to give it about 5 months of being on my playlist, and then I feel like I'm familiar enough with it to do an album review of it. So a good one, not just a throw together intense hour listen to type thing, where I then do a review. Those things are okay, but I often find that after I've reviewed the album 5 or 6 months later, I feel completely different about it. So anyways, that's the album we're doing for Monday night's look back at a classic rock album, The Seventh House from IQ. The next show up comes on Tuesday. It's a bi-weekly show. It rotates with album sides. This one is called Ranking the Songs actually off an album. I've chosen to do this album this week. I was trying to think of a group. I've been trying to keep it so that I'm not doing multiple albums from the same group. I've been trying to pick a different group every week. And then I try to pick an album that I really like, that I think most people prefer from the group, and then I do it. That's generally how I've been doing it lately. It may change in the future, but for now that's what we're doing. So we're going to rank the 5 tracks off of the In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson. Next show up is Favorites, which is probably the show that gets the most views on the channel, the one that people tend to like the most. And that's not really that surprising, considering that seems to be the most popular venue on YouTube for this type of channel. And there's multitudes of these types of channels out there, people doing all kinds of different things, and I'm just one of those people. But I have my own perspective on it, and I think some people appreciate that. So anyways, this week we're doing the episode we're going to do is called 5 bands that had number one albums on the Billboard Top 200. I think that's the chart we'll go with, because we're here in North America, and that's the one I'm most familiar with. I mean, I could do the British one. In most cases, I think a lot of these albums that will make this list, these 5 albums, will probably be number one in the UK as well. So, and in various other places in the world as well. So I'm going to be doing 5 bands that had number one albums this week, and then we're going to do the following couple of weeks, when I'll get into that when we get to in the future. Okay, so the next show that we normally do is called What's New. Last week I changed at the last minute the album that I decided to do, based because I was able to actually listen to the entire album and I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I did the new Hawkwind album. This week we're going to go back to one of the 2 albums I had been working on listening to for this show. This one's called Moon Goose. The group is Moon Goose, and the album is Murmurations. So we'll be doing that for What's New. The next show that comes out is on Friday, is Ranking the Albums. We are now at the second semifinals, as we've done the first set of semifinals. Included in this week's semifinals will be Big Big Train's Folklore, The Who's The Kids Are All Right, Earth and Fire, I guess I need my glasses. Sometimes I forget I don't have them on when I'm doing this. Songs of the Marching Children. Yes, sorry. And then last but not least, Eloy's Face the Music. ELO, or Electric Light Orchestra, Face the Music. So those are the 4 albums I'll be doing for the Friday night ranking of the albums. And so after that, we then will be doing, of course, the second part on Saturday of the Hawkwind in the Exploring the Prog Universe episode. So that'll be part B, the final part. And then we'll be taking a week off before we start Metal again, which comes up, which alternates bi-monthly with this show. This show takes a lot more time than normal. I'm not even sure that I haven't decided yet if it's really worth doing this show, except for that I happen to like it. It makes 2 things happen. It makes me really get into that particular band and kind of understand a little bit about their history and hear all of their music and get a overall flavor of the band. And then it also gives a opportunity for people out there who happen to like that particular band to make their own comments about the band that they think are pertinent to the band's history. and to the band itself. And so I like to give that opportunity to everybody as well. So that's part of the reason why I continue to do these. The next thing up is going to be, I am going to be doing a mini series. I'm hoping I can start it midweek and go like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or maybe Tuesday to Sunday. But at very least, it'll start before the end of this this week episode, and go until it's completed. It'll be one episode after another till it's all completed. And the episode we're doing is, these are 6 prog bands that didn't quite make that commercial success, but are as good as those bands. That's not the title, but that's roughly what it's going to be. So I've picked 6 bands that I think resonate with people on this channel and people in the prog community here on YouTube, that I think all could have been just as big as the Yeses and the ELPs and the Rushes and the Genesis of the world. They certainly are, in my opinion, all as good as those bands, but for whatever reason, they didn't quite get that commercial success that brought them the kind of fame that those bands had. But they all, to me, they're all deserving of being mentioned here. I've picked 6. There was about, I think I had at one point about 18. I narrowed it down to about 12, and I decided that 6 was enough. And I chose these 6 bands not just because I think they belong on there, which they do, but also because I'm more familiar with them. There's a couple of bands that probably could have gone in here that I'm just not as familiar with, so I didn't want to discuss something I'm not familiar with. So I picked the 6. I think they're all pretty good, and it will start. And I did my normal thing with my dice, a little 12-sided dice here that I like to, and I rolled the dice number and put them accordingly. So it's not really a ranking of any kind. They're not even in the order of my favorites or in any particular order at all, not alphabetically or anything. It's just, they've just been randomly put in there by dice. That's just something I like to do, so that's what I'm doing for this. So what else is coming up? So I did make mention earlier of my favorites, which is an episode, like I said, that I do every Wednesday. This week I'm doing a 5. The next 2 weeks after that, I'm going to do a 2-episode 10s. It's going to be part of my 10s. These are 2 episodes that probably will garner a little bit of controversy. They were ideas by Ben, and I thought they were good ideas, but I had to think about how I wanted to present them. So we're going to do one of them will be the 10 bands that are most underrated, I think, or not most underrated, but 10 underrated bands in rock who should have been bigger than they were. And then there's going to be the obvious one that comes next, which are 10 bands that I think are overrated. That's the one that's going to be get under some people's skin, and it's not. And by no means this is meant to be getting under people's skins. These are only my opinions anyway, so they don't really count for much, except for to me and a few people who have the same like-mindedness, who feel the same way. So basically that's all it is. If you don't like something I said about some band or something, just keep in mind that it's just my opinion. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth about the band. In some cases it might be, but usually speaking it's just my opinion. And that is my opinion, and $1.40 will get me the newspaper, right? So they say. So those are going to be 2 episodes we're going to do, and they will start next week back to back. I decided I wanted to think about the bands and how I wanted to present this before I decided to do it. And I did say last week that I was going to be doing more 10s, and I did do one last week, and I'm going to do those 2 starting next week, and then we'll probably do a 25 and break it up, and then another 10 after that. Try to keep it going a little bit. Okay, so, and then of course in the following week after this week, we will be doing the final episode of ranking the albums. This will be the finals for whatever band wins tomorrow, or this Friday, sorry. will go up against the winner of the first semis, and we'll get a winner. Probably take a few week break, or however long Ben wants to take a break for, and then we'll start a new one. It's been fun to do. I think he's enjoyed it. I certainly have, and I think that it's been fairly well received as well. So that's what's going to happen for ranking the albums in the future. And I have a couple of other mini series that I'm also sort of working on, but this one has been my primary thing, so it will come out as soon as I'm ready. I'm pretty close to ready now, I think. So it will run 6 consecutive days once it starts, hopefully midweek. Okay, so that's it for the episode of this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe. That's much appreciated. Any comments or anything you'd like to see in the series, in a series or in an episode, that if I can accommodate it and figure out how I'm going to put it in there, I will. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any episodes. And we will see you next Sunday for another episode of This Week. Take care.